Howdy, folks. Welcome to the podcast Iron. My name is Laura Mullen Vermilia, and on this podcast, I interview members of the cast iron art community in order to inspire, educate, and spread ideas about iron casting and cast iron art. Okay, you guys, listen. Today on the show, we have the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Toby Flores. You probably know all of this, but I'm going to tell you anyways. Toby is a faculty member of the Art and Design Department at Fort Hays State University, and he's also a board member for the Western Cast Iron Art Alliance, and he's going to be the 2023 keynote speaker for the National Conference on Contemporary Cast Iron Art and Practices at Sloss in less than 1 month's time. Toby, thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity to learn firsthand about your journey in life and in cast iron art. You've always been a sort of international man of mystery to me, so I'm grateful that you've given me this chance to get your story straight, or at least some parts of it anyway. You have shared so many great stories and details that I think others will enjoy as well, and it really adds to the excitement of hearing what you will say at Sloss this year during your keynote. The Podcast Iron Show is sponsored in part by supporters on Patreon, so thank you to everyone who has joined as a member on Patreon to help me afford the production costs of this show. And I'd also like to thank our top supporters of the show, which are the Western Cast Iron Art Alliance and Sloss Metal Arts. It is a great honor for this podcast to be sponsored by the Western Cast Iron Art Alliance, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about them now. They were established in 2008, and they are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that consists of iron casting artists in the western states of the U.S. Their goals are to educate, demonstrate, and exhibit cast iron art in the western region of the U.S. And one of the ways that they accomplish these goals is by organizing a conference every 2 years. So historically, the precedent is that a different board member hosts each conference, so it moves around from place to place. And if you're a dedicated listener to this podcast, you'll know that the board member Chris Meyer just hosted the conference this past October of 2022 in South Dakota. So start planning to make it out west in the fall of 2024. It's quite a ways away, and we've got plenty of time. Obviously, there's no solid dates this far in advance, but I'll keep you informed as things start to develop. And the rumor on the streets is that in 2024, it may be in California. But thank you to the Western Cast Iron Art Alliance and their board members for their support for this podcast. For more information about this fantastic organization, visit their website, which is wciaa.org. This show's other big sponsor is Sloss Metal Arts, which always seems to come up on every episode, so many of you are already familiar with the organization, but they are a national center for iron casting and metal art. And as I'm sure you already know, they're hosting the upcoming national conference, which is going to be April 5th through the 8th at Sloss National Historic Landmark in Birmingham, Alabama. So for more information about the Sloss Metal Arts program, visit their website, which is slossmetalarts.com, and also follow them on Instagram at Sloss Metal Arts. And are you getting excited? Because it's almost here. You can register online at nccciap.com, and that's the National Conference's website. So go on the website, you can pre-order a conference t-shirt, but they've also released a preliminary conference schedule, so you can check out all the information about the timings of panels, presentations, and much more. Follow NCCCIAP on Instagram to keep up to date with all conference-related developments in real time. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you there. So it's been a very long 4 years since we've been able to gather together in person for this conference. Let's make it the biggest and best one yet. So finally, let's get into the interview. Never forget that this episode is brought to you by our top supporters, Sloss Metal Arts and the Western Cast Iron Art Alliance. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and please enjoy. Well, Toby Flores, welcome to the Podcast Iron. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
I'm happy to be here. Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is going to be great. I can already tell.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while. So, I I tried to prepare, but I don't know. I think it's gonna be great. Yeah, I think we're gonna have fun.
I have a lot of, because it's like, oh, see, I shouldn't even start because you went to SIU Carbondale. So that's right in my neck of the woods. So like I have so many, I'm just so interested in let's just get
Cool.
right into it.
All
But
right.
let's start off with, well, Toby, who the hell are you anyways?
I mean, if anybody should know, it would probably be me, but I so I am Toby. I even have a sticker just in case I forget. But I am a husband and a father, a professor. So I teach sculpture at Fort Hays State University. Um, I'm an artist. I usually say sculptor, but I don't know. Now that I'm thinking back, like of all the stuff, like so I draw a lot, and now I'm doing all these performances and things, which has really been kind of fun. I love to fish, um, and I fish with a lot of sculptors, which is fun. Dee's my Danielle Robinson. She's my like go to, like me and her, because we live so close together and stuff, and so we're always fishing. Yeah,
Always fishing.
yeah, fish with Noah sometimes, but yeah, and I love to eat, and I love to kiss my wife.
Well, that's
I've
a
been
good
thinking
one.
about her. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a yesterday was her birthday, and she's out of town, so I working, so I've been thinking about her a bit. But
Yeah.
anyways, that's me.
Well, let's go back to young Toby and see if we can recall any memories that maybe you think had an influence in who you've become today.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and uh, you know, I grew up, when you grow up with not a lot of money or whatever, like
Yeah.
you don't know that you're poor, just
Okay.
and we were fine. Like we had everything, but I'm just saying, like, we didn't go to museums, or I didn't go to, special art school, or
Hmm.
so, I really didn't see a lot of art until, later on. And really, like, at church, I grew up Catholic, so like at
Yeah.
church there's lots of art, and so that was almost like a museum in some ways. um
I can relate to that.
but
Yeah.
yeah, so art came later for me. And but my parents were very creative. Like my mom, she could cook and sew, and she did like macrame, and she always like encouraged us to draw and color and all that kinds of stuff. So she was very creative in her own way. And my dad was also very creative in his own way. I mean, they probably wouldn't say that, but looking back, I'm like, they could dance, which I think is, definitely an art. Like they would dance all night long, you know what I mean, at parties and stuff. And my dad's a good storyteller. Um, and I remember that we used to build stuff. One time he made us, like, we built stuff. He made us some go-karts one time and stuff, but um he had us like take apart this pallet, me and my brother,
Mm.
gonna make something. So we took apart all these pallets and pulled all the nails out, and he taught us how to like take a nail and like roll it into like the crack of the sidewalk in the driveway. And then so you could take the bend out, because you pulled the nail out and you bent it, and then you could straighten the nail, and then we could use that to make the shit we were going to make. And I was just like, it's like, I don't know, like, and then you could go to the store, I guess, and buy nails, but we just made shit with what we had.
Do you
And
think in his life there was a point where he couldn't go to the store and buy nails? Just curious.
probably,
Yeah.
yeah, probably. But also he's just resourceful, and
Yeah.
it's just where we were, that's where we were at, and
Yeah.
and I'm happy because my dad did a lot of stuff with nothing. And so I feel like that helped me, like, in the early years, like art making, because it didn't matter, I didn't have anything, you know what I mean? Like I would just do whatever
Yeah.
to make stuff. And
Yeah.
so I feel like it was him that kind of, put that in me, just so, yeah, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Resourcefulness. So you didn't do art in like, let me rephrase that. Did you do art in elementary school or middle school or high school?
I mean, in high school, yes, my brother was great. My brother was an artist, like growing up, like my brother was the artist. I was just like um the bad kid, like my older sister and my brother were super smart, straight A's, like good kids, like, and then I would have the same teacher that they had, and my teacher would be like, oh, Toby, I wish you could be more like your sister and your brother, you know. I'm going to see you on Saturday for detention. You know what I mean? Like, but my brother was an artist and he was killer and he would draw spaceships and shit. And I was always jealous. But when I got to high school, he was like, you need to take art. We had a teacher, Art Smith, and he was such a huge inspiration. I'm an artist probably because of him,
Mm.
like he put me on that path.
Okay.
As a high school teacher, like he was just incredible, So yeah, that was probably the thing that got me started.
Okay. And so then, and you were interested in it.
Yeah, I wanted to be like my brother.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I become the artist, and my brother does not. So it was kind of weird like that, but yeah,
Yeah. Life's
yeah,
funny in a
yeah.
way. Yeah. So then did that lead to art in college? Or what was that transition?
Did like so I knew I wanted to do art, and I got into college, but couldn't really afford to go, and
Where did you
uh,
grow up, by the way? I don't actually know.
I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona,
Okay. Yeah.
Glendale, and I was born in Flagstaff, and so I got into NAU, and but I couldn't really go because I couldn't afford it,
Mm.
and so I ended to go to community college and stuff like that, and then at some point. I was taking some art classes, some drawing classes, and painting classes. I was really 2D in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and then me and some friends, like I was like, our lease was coming up, and I was like, hey, I want to move to San Francisco and go to art school. And I had no fucking clue about what that was, or I didn't even know what school. It just seemed like that's where you needed to go. You know what I mean? Like I was like all those funk artists were from San Francisco, and I'm like, seems like a cool place.
Yeah.
There's some art schools there, like, let's go. And so these knuckleheads that I was hanging out with, like some of my best friends, like they're like, okay, we'll go with you. And we had no money, and we didn't have anything. We didn't have a car. Like I was driving like a moped,
Uh-huh.
and I had to sell it to try to get some money to, and then me and my buddy, we bought a car for $600, and then it broke down, and then we had to spend some more money to get it fixed just to get, you know.
Yeah.
So we had a buddy in San Diego, and we're like, well, let's drive to San Diego, and then we'll go up from there and drive the coast up to San Francisco. And I had $600, and then we decided that we were going to go to Las Vegas, Nevada first, because that's smart, right? And so we go up there because my buddy's mom lived there,
Oh, well,
and
yeah. Okay.
we go up there and party and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I blew half of my money. So now I have $300 to move to San Francisco. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what we were
But
just
you're
so dumb.
young, right? You're in your
Yeah,
20s.
I just turned 21,
Yeah.
I was like,
That's that
let's
age.
let's just go for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it sounds really cool and everything, but it was kind of, difficult. But and then we got to San Diego, and we're living with this other buddy of our high school friend who's in
Yeah.
the Marines, and still planning to go up to San Francisco and study art or whatever. And then we're all packed up, and driving our car on I-5 North, and it breaks down again.
Yeah.
And we'd never even gotten a title for that car. So we just fucking parked it on the side and just left it. We just walked away. We
Yeah.
just were like, we can't afford to fix it.
Yeah.
Like, and I had to tell my friend, hey, can we stay like for a little bit longer? Because, we have no money. And so, anyways, I ended up living in San Diego for like 10 years because
Oh,
we never made it to San Francisco. And I started going to college there and studying art. And yeah, we just stayed. We started getting jobs. You know what I mean? We
yeah.
just got jobs and
Yep.
started, you know, going to school and working and
Mm-hmm.
partying a lot, going to see a lot of music and,
Yeah.
punk rock shows and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So seems to be like that, the guys, the people you've interviewed my age seem to be like, you know, that's how we started,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was going to Maricosta College and I was a printmaker back then.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and my printmaking professor, Tony Richards, who recently passed away, he was just he was incredible. He was just like really changed my life and encouraged me, gave me a bunch of shit for free, like because I had no money but I would just stay there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he'd come in the morning and I'd still be there, like that kind of stuff. Like I would open up the windows in the day during class, unlock the windows, and then I would crawl in, after he left at night. And then, anyways, one time I wrecked my car,
Okay.
right? I had this like Ford Fiesta or something.
Uh-huh.
And I fucking smashed the shit out of it. And
Yeah.
it barely ran. And I was late to class, kind of whatever. And he's like, he was asking me, I was like, man, I busted up my car and I think I bent the frame and this and that. And he's like, okay, well, why don't you just drive it up on campus? Go up this sidewalk and just drive it up here. And, and then we ended up like tying it with some chains. And then he had a forklift and he was like pulling it and bending the frame back
Oh,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, and his next class was going to start, and I remember this student like coming around, and she's like, Professor Richards, like classes, just started, and he's like, can't you see we're busy? Like we're trying to fix this car or whatever. And so he was just wonderful, and that was the first metal though. I took a 3D design class with him, and we poured some aluminum. We did that foam, in the Petrobond. It was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And but that was I still was a printmaker though. I mean, I really loved that process, and we did a lot of casting because I liked it so much. And we would just pour, he would just let me come in and we would just do stuff together, not part of a class or anything. We would just do it because I liked it. But anyways, that was, some crazy times, but yeah.
And just for clarification, was it foam evacuation?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought so.
And I did a lot of that. I even taught classes on it. Like it was so horrible. Now I just I don't do that at all. Like it's so horrible. But yeah. After that, I finished up and went to San Diego State. And that's where I changed my major after I met Jerry Dumlau. He would study with Julius back in the early 60s. And nobody knows about Jerry in the iron community, really, because he just did his own thing. I have a great picture of him.
Oh,
I don't know if you can see it, but that's him in San Diego, like grinding with shorts on and no shirt.
I was gonna say, it looks like is he wearing like a undershirt, like an
apron, but no shirt on,
and shorts and like little white socks.
Yeah, and tennis shoes. Yeah. He was so hardcore, yeah, and he studied with Julius in the 60s.
Okay.
And but he didn't pour iron. So
Mm.
he came to San Diego and built a furnace and poured iron for a while, but it was hard for him to get coke
Yeah.
for and stuff like that. There just wasn't that. It was California,
Mm.
so there was all kinds of laws, and he was getting coke from the Navy had a foundry, and then they switched to induction furnaces, and
Mhm.
so they didn't have any coke anymore, and so he just stopped doing it, and we poured aluminum and bronze. But he had all these like black and white photos of iron casting and stuff, and I would ask him about it, and he had pictures of Julius working in his studio and all this stuff, and um, eventually I was like, what is all this about? And he would tell me stories of Julius and the way he worked, and I started working that direct mold building, at some point, just from stories he had told me. I never really, knew anything, but and I remember him saying one time, like, I was making this mold, and he's like, well, it's about time. And I've been working with him for years. And he said, yeah, well, it looks like you're starting to make some sculpture now. And I was like, oh, like, well, that was good. I mean, I was happy to hear it, but I was like, damn, what about all that other shit I
Yeah.
made?
It's like the backhanded compliment sort of.
Hmm. Yeah, he was. I just went and visited him over Christmas, and shit, he was old then. He's pretty old now, and
Yeah.
great to see him. But yeah, he just turned me into a sculptor. Taught me how to weld, and I was just like, man, like I love printmaking and I love drawing, but
Yeah.
this is just, and that stuff is exhausting mentally. Printmaking and drawing and stuff, but it wasn't exhausting physically, and I think I like that physical part, or you're tired in both, like you just stay in the studio and you're wiped. So I kind of love that, fell in love with it. But
The physical matches the mental in
yeah,
a
and
way.
then um I was really into it. Like and I think Jerry like stayed an extra year to help me, which I could never repay him for that, but it was really cool. And uh, he he built ceramic shell because I was applying to grad schools, and
Okay.
he made a ceramic shell slurry, because I need to know that if I was going to go to school or something. And then Mary Bates, one of us found out that Barry was having an iron pour at ASU.
Okay.
I don't know which one of us found out, but I was going to school. Tom Fox was there with me. We went to school together,
All right.
and uh, and then we all jumped in a van or whatever, and we took our molds to ASU, which is about 6 hours from San Diego.
Okay.
And that was the first time I had seen iron or poured iron. Kevin Shun was the visiting artist.
Mm-hmm.
Was I have a I've been because I've been digging through all this shit. So
Yeah. Yeah.
this is an old photo. It's probably, I don't know if you can see it, but
I can see it a
it's
little bit.
Kevin Shun and Ted, and then there's Mary right there.
Yeah.
And Kevin was like on this tour of the country, like taking his little continuous furnace all over the place, and he happened to be there. And I was like so impressed with Kevin. Like I was just like, man, he's just like this. I think he was fresh out of grad school at the time. We had been pouring bronze and aluminum like crazy at San Diego, but I was like, man, this thing is a whole nother thing. And I was just blown away at the scale. Mary was just had this big event, it was
Yeah.
huge, and I'm like, man, I've been missing this. So after that, I was, like, I got to go to grad school. I got to learn this stuff. And that's where I ended up at Carbondale.
Mhm.
The guy that Jerry went to school with, Alden Adding, Alden Addington, um, was at SIU, Carbondale.
Mhm.
there was 3 sculptors there at the time when I went, professors. And I think it was Alden that got me into that program. I think Jerry called Alden and told him, "Hey, take this kid," or whatever. Like, I don't know if I would have got in without Alden, but um, and me and Libby were already together. We weren't married yet, but we had a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and we fucking packed all our shit and we moved to Carbondale. And Alden like gave me a job, and he was building the house, and I was welding for him right away. And yeah, and then, you know, just that was it. I was hooked on the
Yeah.
iron after that for sure. Yeah.
So when you went to Arizona State, for that iron pour event, did you participate or were you just a spectator? Like, did they get you in there on a ladle or anything?
Yeah, yeah. I poured some ladles. We'd brought molds, and
Right, right. But I
uh,
didn't know if like you got to get in the mix or if they were just
I
like, put your
did.
molds over there. We'll take they
Of course, I didn't know what I was doing,
yeah.
and I poured a lot of metal before, so we had a lot of experience casting. But
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, they let us pour some molds.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we did much else, but
Mm-hmm.
and I was looking at these pictures, and like, uh, my jacket was all brand new. I think my dad bought me a leather jacket, which was sweet. I still have it, and uh, we had silver suits and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's just what we had from San Diego, and kind of cool to look at all that old stuff.
So
You
then
know.
you went to SAU Carbondale,
hmm
and was that still like then your second iron pour going there?
Um. Yeah, I think so. No. Um. No, we went up to Flagstaff at NAU, Northern Arizona University. Um, uh, Jack Braun was there. He taught there for a few years,
Right. I did know that.
and
Yeah.
that's where I was born. I have family there, and so that was pretty cool to go up
Yeah.
and build with Jack. I think, and man, he's such a just a wonderful person. And yeah, was that no, that was not before. So yeah, Harpdale probably was my second
All
Iron.
right.
It must have been, I think it was after or during grad school or something. I can't remember. Shit, it's been so long ago.
I
But
mean, in
uh
in some ways stuff like that doesn't matter. Like the actual like there's certain like nitty-gritty things that don't matter, but I was just trying to figure out like so you went to Carbondale and it wasn't like iron was sight unseen. But it was still like there
it
was a
was
lot that you didn't know
no, I didn't
about
know anything.
iron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't really know anything. I knew mold making. Jerry Dumow from San Diego State is still the best mold maker I've ever seen. And and there's some good mold makers.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but still the best mold maker ever. And he did all this like external gating. So he gated all of his work on the outside of his mold. It was crazy, bunch of stuff. But yeah, when I got to Carbondale, yeah, I didn't know anything. And I got there, and Alden gave me a job right away, which was cool.
Did you start
And
incorporating iron into your work because of the availability, or were you drawn to it no matter what?
I was drawn to casting.
Okay.
And the thing about casting, I feel like, is that you can make any shape, right? I really loved forging and fabricating, um, and later on all kinds of other things, but casting gives you the ability just to make any shape that you want. So that was the thing I really liked about it. And then I liked inventing my own shapes. Um, Now I use a lot of found objects and stuff, but back in those days, like making my own shapes was really what I wanted to do. Um, and still working that kind of direct mold making kind of Julia Schmidt style and all that. But and in grad school, there was just the greatest group of people. Like I dug out this old photo, and this is like the best. Like this is us at Sloss.
Oh,
I built
wow.
I built a continuous tap furnace,
Yeah.
and there's Jason Kynes and Brad Allen and Felice Kent and Wade and Eric. Anyways, I mean, the group of people that were at Carbondale at the time were incredible. Tyler French, just kick ass artists, and I really felt like shit, man. Like these guys are top notch, and I'm kind of a hack. So grad school really made me so much better. Uh, um, Not so much from the professor, but mostly just those guys. Like, they were they were incredible. Jerry Monteith was there, and he is an incredible artist, and I learned a lot from him too. And we've gone fishing together as well. Um, but I built my furnace there, and I remember we took it to Sloss, and it was just like, it was such a big moment, for me. And we made a lot of dumb mistakes and all this stuff. But
As is tradition.
yeah, but it was such a great time. Grad school was, a lot of fun, and we just made giant, big old shit. That foundry at SIU was just incredible. The facilities were really incredible. Yeah. I remember when I first got there, um, I went to the foundry, and I didn't know anybody. I had no, like, I knew my wife, we weren't even married then. And I had my kid, and it was so foreign. Like you, you it's so like, it's like the South,
I was
even
going to
though
ask you if it was like a culture shock, but I couldn't figure out how
it,
to work it in. But is it a culture shock coming from?
it was a huge culture shock. We knew nobody. Actually, the the day we moved, we had this big U-Haul or whatever, and we didn't know anybody, so we unloaded it all ourselves. And Libby's in the house, and I'm taking all the boxes and shit, and it's like towards the end of the night, and it's nighttime, and we're finally done. And then I just sitting on the bumper of the U-Haul truck, and I'm drinking a beer, and I'm just trying to it was like a long day.
Well, because you had driven too. Like, how long was that drive
Yeah, forever.
with a baby?
Yeah, with a
Like,
baby.
of course
Yeah,
I think you
yeah,
needed 2 beers, but anyways, so you're
yeah.
just chilling.
Cooper was like 1 years old, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was chilling, and all of a sudden I'm like, I see all these lights. I start seeing lights, and I'm like, oh shit, like and it was summertime, in Southern Illinois, so it's fucking terrible. Sweating like
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, it's a
And
mess.
I'm just like, oh my God, like maybe I go inside, and I'm like, hey babe, like, I don't know, I'm starting to see all these lights out there. Like, I don't know, like maybe I'm overheated. And she looks outside, and she's like, you're an idiot. He's like, those are fireflies. I'm
Oh,
like, oh. I've never seen a firefly before.
oh, wow.
So, there's every bug in the world in Southern Illinois. Like, they all live there. In
Yeah.
the Southwest, you know what I mean? Like, there's like 4 bugs.
Yeah.
Like, there's no bugs
Yeah.
out
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, it's not going to be like Louisiana if you want to talk about bugs. Like,
there. Well, I'm sure. I'm
right.
sure. Yeah.
But yeah, Southern Illinois, it's buggy.
Pretty, pretty swampy. I mean, the South, but
It,
it was
especially
pretty,
there too, because you're like, it's in a wooded area. There's like state forests there, like the Shawnee National.
yeah,
Right.
it's like like you could hear all these noise, like you swear there's like monkeys and shit out there. Yeah, it's crazy. It was crazy. So yeah, it was a big time culture shock, and um
It's rural too, even though it's in Illinois. It's not like
No, it's in the
Georgia, it's rural in that area of Southern
yeah.
Illinois.
There's
Yeah.
nothing. There's no major trucking route. Like
Yeah.
it's a weird place. It's a
Yeah.
really weird town.
Who
Like
was I talking to? I was talking to somebody like if you're gonna fly, you got to fly into St. Louis, and then it's a 2-hour
yeah,
drive to
yeah,
get down there. Like
yeah.
it's
There's nothing around there at all.
and there's no
It's
major. It's like a two lane
yeah.
highway. I guess you could call it
It's hard to
that.
get materials.
Yeah.
Like because they don't. It's a weird place. It really
Yeah.
is. But it was great. The grad program there is. There's glass blowers. There's like
Yeah. There's a
a
good
hundred.
ceramics program. Metalsmithing program is
Yep.
good.
I took blacksmithing classes with Rick Smith, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great place to be. Taught me a lot for sure.
And there's
Um,
something about if you're with a good group of people, the isolation, because there's not a lot
yeah, yeah.
it's not a city, you focus. You work hard, you play hard, but you
We played
focus.
hard. Yeah, we played really hard. We got in a lot of trouble. We got tickets for fireworks. Those guys like were firework. You could buy fireworks pretty close.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Next town or some shit. Yeah, I'd be like, you'd be sitting in the toilet. There's a bathroom there.
Yeah. I'm
Red
familiar with
door.
that. Yeah.
And there's a big gap under the door. And
Oh,
I was one time I was sitting in there just doing my
yeah.
business like you did in Stacy's neighbor's house. And
Ah, nice
so
callback.
so I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I see all these bottle rockets
Oh,
lined up under the door, and they had lit them all. And so there's nothing you could do, like just put your head down, cover your junk, and just pray. But we had a lot of fun there for sure. Yeah. Tom Walsh was there when I got there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he wasn't teaching there anymore. He was retired.
Okay.
But I showed up and was like, "Hey, I just moved to town." This was after my Firefly thing, and I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
like, "Hey, I'm here early, and like I don't have anything to do or a job or anything. So if you need any help, like I would love to help you." And he's like, "Well, what are you doing tomorrow?" And do you know Tom Walsh?
No.
No, he's very very
To the point.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
He's like, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I'm like, nothing. He's like, "Well, we're going to be pouring iron. I mean, we're going to be pouring bronze at 9:15. And
A
do you
AM.
have leather? Yeah, AM. Do you have leathers?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." And he's like, "All right, well, I'll see you then." So I'm like, "Okay." So I show up like whatever, a little bit after 9, and like he really meant that the metal was going to be ready to pour at 9:15 exactly.
Okay.
So it was like, 9:10 or whatever. And he's like, "We're going to be pouring in 4 minutes." And then I'm like, "What?" And so I remember pouring the metal. I don't think I even had my gloves on because I just had enough time to just put my shit, whatever.
It's
And
now. Now is now.
yeah, yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, he was great. And he hired me a few other times to do some commission stuff and move sculptures out of his house there and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a great experience.
So you brought up the bathrooms and you also had a bunch of photos. So now when I go to the bathroom, I think it's a different bathroom though. It's not the one that you're the bottle rocket one. It's in the other, like kind of the other building across
Where the
the
shell room is.
yeah. In that
Yeah.
bathroom, there's a ton of photos of iron
Oh,
casting.
I'd love to see
Do you
those.
know what okay, so maybe that was after your time.
I mean, there was some in there, but there was a lot in the
They're like
bathroom.
pouring
Other,
with like button down shirts like open.
yeah, yeah,
Like it's
yeah. I have a great video that I got a copy of in grad school of Julia Schmidt coming to Carbondale and doing a workshop.
oh wow.
Whole video, and that's how I built my furnace. I
Okay.
would watch the video, and then it was on VHS, and I would watch it and then stop it and then rewind it and I built my continuous tap furnace from watching this VHS video. That's how little I knew. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And then, I had seen Kevin's, but
Yeah.
I didn't even know to like, hey, maybe you should take some pictures or ask some questions. Like I didn't, it was, I was so in awe, like I didn't know what the hell was going on. But
Yeah. And also, if we want to just like take a second to, you know, we have so much availability right now for
yes,
photos and video. If I need to remember anything, the price of something at the store, where something is in the museum that I work at, I take a picture of it.
sure,
But it
yeah,
wasn't like that. Even as when I was in grad school, which wasn't that long ago, like I didn't have a cell phone with a camera in it,
yeah, yeah,
and so back then it like, and also you would have been developed like, so just in your defense, like I think that makes sense. You were just experiencing it in the moment.
yeah, yeah. We built that furnace and it ran on 3 Kirby vacuums,
Yeah.
no wind box,
Wow.
just the way Kevin's furnace was. That there's no wind box, just directly in.
Okay.
And shit, man, it like the first time we ran it, I don't know if it's ever run that good since. Like, it did like a ton an hour,
Wow.
it's like
Yeah.
crazy. It was so nuts. It ran so fast. And, that old Julia Schmidt design is really killer. It's the good stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what we all stem from in a certain way.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, for
it's,
sure.
it's wild. Um, so you brought that furnace to Sloss. Was that early days? Like I'm trying to get
Yeah, I don't
a
even know. So that would have been like, I don't even know when there was a conference. So it was there from 2000 to 2003. So
okay.
one of those years there was a conference at Sloss, and
Yeah, no, I think that yeah.
yeah, and
It
so
had been
we
established by then, I think.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and so we were one of the guest furnaces, and it was so much fun, and that crew was just so great. But my furnace like sunk into the ground because the ground was so soft, and over during the pour, the feet just went into the ground,
Wow.
so we could barely open the bottom. At some point, we had to dig even to get the ladle underneath it because it was like it
You
was
know
funny.
that Sloss is a historic landmark. You're not supposed to dig at Sloss. Just kidding.
We were doing some
I'm
digging.
just kidding. Yeah, because I just saw that picture for just a second, but you guys weren't under a shed. Where were you located when that was?
It was on the like I guess that would be the north side of like the power plant.
Okay.
It was a weird area to kind of
Yeah.
pour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember like Kevin Shun was there watching, and I think Tom Gipe, and um I would have problems, and then I would like walk over and like, hey, what do you think I should do? Like, and they would, tell me what to do, and then we'd go back and, hey, they said we should do this, and like we didn't know what the
Yeah.
hell we were. It was awesome. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, those early days at Sloss were pretty wild.
I mean, I've heard some good stories. And I mean, I think that it's still, I mean, we do a good job. I think even now, us.
What do you mean, like at Sloss?
Yeah, we put
Oh,
on a
it's
good
always it's a
show.
good
It's
every
always a
time.
good, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
time every time. Yeah,
It was
just
probably smaller then, more intimate, more.
it was, and back then, like I would camp, and
Yeah. Yeah.
we actually on the way there. So we're packing up my trailer
Yeah.
and loading molds and doing all this stuff. We're at the foundry at Carbondale,
Yeah.
and this cop pulls up, and he's like, "Hey, somebody just hit a deer down the road. Do you guys want it?" And and, and Jason Kimes, like he was like, Jason Kimes.
A little bit. I mean, he wouldn't know me, but I know
Oh man,
I can see his face in I know who he
he's from
is.
Mississippi. He's like this wild animal, and back then he was just buck wild, dude. He was nuts.
He was
And
like,
he's
I'll
like,
eat it raw.
yeah, we want that thing. He talked real, and he's like, yeah, we want that deer, Uncle, get it. And so they went and got this deer, and we're trying to pack up and leave.
Because it's like a 8 hour, 7 hour drive. It's a drive.
A little bit from SIU, yeah. And so, anyways, I'm strings this deer up on the A-frame. We had a gantry, and he skinned this deer in like 10 minutes, threw it in a cooler, and we took this deer like a cooler to Sloss, and we were barbecuing it that night. It was so crazy.
That's
They were so
that's a good story. That's like what I like. It kind
it
of
was,
reminds me of like Michael Williams they'll bring crawdads. You just bring a little bit of yourself with you to Sloss.
yeah, we brought that. I think Brad and JC, Jared Christie, I think they wrestled that night. Brad got really drunk and wanted to wrestle somebody, and so Brad was big dude back then. He was like this big monster, like super strong, like giant guy. But JC was little, but he was a wrestler. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Like,
so he knew the game. Yeah.
so took him down. But yeah, it was some crazy times. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
The early days. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
I'm kind of rambling
then
on.
what? Say that again?
I'm just rambling on.
No, but it's good. I love the like specific stories because then we get more of like the tidbits,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that deer story. That's good.
There's so many Jason Kime stories.
I gotta get him on.
You do, for one, just because the way he talks, it's so funny. He's got that Mississippi thing. I
Yeah.
miss him so much. I really miss that guy a lot. And I told him, I said, man, you better come to Sloss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to see him there. But can I tell one more, Jason?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
One time we're just at Southern Illinois, and you poured there a bit.
Yeah.
We're just sitting out there, like there's a picnic table out there or whatever, and we're just bullshitting. And like a wild animal, dude, like when a dog sees a squirrel, right?
Yeah.
Jason Kime saw this rabbit, and he just jumps like over the table and starts running after this rabbit and I was like, what? Like, what is going on, dude? I don't understand. And you know how thick the woods are?
Yeah, I do.
They're thick. Like, they mow the lawn, and then all of a sudden there's the tree line, and it's thick. There's like, you can barely
forest.
walk
It's
in there.
forest. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just whatever, so much different than where I grew up. But he just like fucking right into the trees and then he's gone. He's just gone for like 10 minutes or something. We're like, oh man, what, I wonder. And he comes back, and his face is all scratched where he had been running through the bushes and stuff. He's got some rabbit hair under his nails. He's like, man, I almost got it. I almost had it. just like, dude, what are you, like, you are crazy. Yeah. And he's always been just like the most incredible. I mean, back then he was killer artist,
Yeah.
Nowadays he's just making this big giant stuff, these big, those three figures.
Yeah, I was gonna say he just finished them. They just got installed, right?
Beautiful site, like,
Yeah.
just, yeah, they're just great people. Yeah, I miss him a lot, but he was great to have around, in grad school for sure.
I mean, having a good crew in grad school is a gift because not everybody has it. But if you
they were the best. They were the best. Yeah, they were. Yeah, I learned a lot from those guys.
So what happened next? Grad school's over. You stayed in Carbondale?
No way, dude.
No way.
It was weird. It was so weird there. But no, I moved back to San Diego. We applied for a couple jobs, and I didn't get anything, and so we're like, I sent some resumes off to some places in San Diego and picked up some work there. So
Mhm.
some part-time stuff. And
Mhm.
yeah, we moved back to San Diego for a few years, um, and then I applied for the job at Fort Hayes and got the job in Hayes,
Mhm.
and thought my life was over. Pretty
Oh,
well.
why do
It was
you say that?
because it was just like dirt out here and
Okay.
sticks. You know what I
You know,
mean?
so the
Like,
first time that I ever met you was in the 2012 Western that you hosted.
yeah,
And during the I don't know if you call it Pearl Snaps then or but it was during the keynote. So Dan Hunt was the
yeah,
speaker
yeah,
and you introduced him with an amazing story of when you came out to Kansas to interview or like check out the place or something.
yeah.
And
I forgot I even said that, had told that story, but yeah, he was the only person I knew in Kansas.
yeah.
Yeah. And when I, when I called for you back then, you called on the phone to get a plane ticket, like call
Oh,
Southwest Airlines.
okay.
I called Southwest Airlines, and I don't know, this girl on the phone, she must have been from Georgia or something. She's like, I'm like, I would need to get to Hayes, Kansas. And she's like, oh, sweetheart. She's like, we don't fly to Kansas. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, darling, there is nobody in Kansas. And I'm like, well, I said, I'm looking at a map right now, and it is a big state.
Yeah.
And you have to fly somewhere in Kansas. She's like, no, darling, we fly to Kansas City, and that's in Missouri. And then you get in a car and you drive to Hayes. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, like where the fuck am I going?
Yeah.
And yeah, and Dan was the only person I knew. Dan Hunt was there, and so
And how did you know him before? Like from the iron casting community?
well, he was an SIU guy too.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. There's so much I don't know. So
Yeah,
fill
so
me in. So
Ted
he had
Uran, Kevin Shun,
okay,
and Hunt, they were all SIU guys
before you.
for me and worked under
Okay.
Tom. And
So you would have
so
heard their names too as you
yeah,
were there. You
yeah,
hear the names of the previous grads.
and I had met Dan. I had met him, and I don't remember where. Maybe at Sloss or something.
Probably. I'm
Uh,
yeah.
I think it was at Sloss. And so I made I did my interview, and I made it, yeah, one extra day so I could hang out with Dan. And he lived way out. He taught at K State, but he lived in Bunzi, which is, I think there's 6 houses in that fucking town. And I'm driving out there, and I had a cell phone, but I'm like trying to find it, and I'm driving around. It's all country.
Is this the mid 2000s now?
Yeah,
Like
this is 2006,
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and
So there's cell
um,
phones. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, there's cell phones, and I'm driving through the country, and I see like there's like flags, like stars and bars, and I'm like, and then I have no cell service, and I can't find his house, and I'm scared, and I'm like, dude, like what's going on now? You know what I mean? And so I drive back to the highway, and I'm like, damn, like where do you live, dude? Like you know what I mean? Like it's getting dark, you know? And I grew up in the city, like I'm just like, what is going on out here? And I'm all Western Kansas now. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
but back then I was like, man, this is crazy,
Was
and
he like, I'll drive to the highway and you can follow me? I don't
kind
know.
of one of those things. Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's like, this is how you get out here. Anyway, so I got to his house, and he's like, man, you need a beer and a steak, you know?
Yeah.
Do. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And then we've been, we were, well, whatever. We were, good friends after that. But um, yeah.
Because you told that story. And now I remembered Dan from when I was at Sloss with my grad professor, Jimbo, took us to Sloss. And I
It's hard
remembered,
to get Dan. Like if you meet him with he's
yes,
such a presence, you know?
yes. So I don't know if I actually like hi, nice to meet you. My name is Laura. I don't know if I actually met him, but I remembered, you're right. I remembered the man. Basically,
Yeah.
like I was like, I have seen this person before. Anyway, so then I go to the Western that you hosted and get to meet him actually further and stuff like that. But that story that you told before he even went on stage, sitting in that audience, I was at that moment realized how much that the community could give me.
Yeah, man. And everybody says it, but it has been everything to me. You know what I mean? Like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had driven with Durant. Now everybody that's like listening to the podcast has heard this story a million times, but I drove out to Oxford, and then it was him and Seth Thibodeau and like some of his other students drove out and stayed in Stacy's front yard and all that blah blah blah. But it was like already kind of like the testament to I can go somewhere and meet up with one person that can take me to more people, but
Yeah.
then I can just drop in to almost anywhere because it is spread out. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
It's
then you telling that story that you can come in for a job interview and then actually have one other person in the state.
yeah.
And I that's when I was like, uh, I realized that I was only scratching the surface at that point because I had
Yeah.
just graduated from grad school, but I realized that there was so much that this community offered
Yeah.
in these friendships and in spread out places. And like I would have probably, when else in my life would I have gone to South Dakota?
Yeah. It's just the community really has built my whole career, like it just knowing all these people, especially this Western group that I'm with, like those guys like have just, you know, elevated, all of us. Like they, got me into all kinds of shows and Rian and Noah and, Lobdell. I can't say enough about that guy. And yeah, they have all just, you know, Allison and they're just, wonderful. And they, we just, do for each other. And it's just great. Yeah. It's great to be a part of it for sure. And it's all kind of chance. It's chance. I was driving to San Francisco. You know what I mean? Like I didn't plan
Yeah.
to be in San Diego. And then to
Yeah.
meet this guy, I was a printmaker. And then, like the whole him with the Julius thing. And like, it's just chance that I know you people. It's all just like crazy. Like, I wasn't seeking it out or, it just kind of happened, whatever. But it's been, great,
Yeah. And it's great as a community member to watch the bond that all of you in the Western Cast Iron Art Alliance board, or do you call yourself a committee or a board? I've forgotten. Or
Yeah, we
the
just
board.
it's like 9 people around a barrel fire is what we usually like. Yeah, but yeah,
But to watch the relationship and the friendship that all of you have with each other is like it's like watching like a microcosm of what I hope the whole community is. Like it's like the distilled essence of what we want to emulate. So that's very powerful.
that's cool. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, they're just it's a great group of people, and you know the opportunities like that Allison and Noah have given me, and Lobdell, like it's been Ashley and David Jones and Tom Fox, and they're just great. They're just wonderful uh people. And like you can ask them to do anything, like they'll just do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. It's cool for sure. Yeah, I think we're all staying in an Airbnb in Sloss, like all of us.
Oh, that's going to be so much fun. I
Yeah.
just remember, so this is like a little tiny memory that I have that so I had just started doing this whole like trying to figure out how I was going to capture the cast iron art community and like, trying to take video and stuff. And it happened to be the Western that Allison and Noah hosted at Granite City, Illinois. And so somebody was like, oh, well, you should interview Tom Fox for whatever you're doing. And I was like, oh my gosh, such an honor. Like I would love to do that. And so, but I had a pretty bad camera, no audio equipment, which now I know audio is like a large part of it. But so we're in this Airbnb and I'm trying to interview Tom, but the lighting was terrible. And there was I feel like it was hot because in Illinois, it'll still get hot even if it's in September and October. So I feel like there was an air vent. I don't know if it was like air conditioning or whatever. So I was like, I had been messing with the vent, but it still came on. And then like Chris Myers had been, I guess, sleeping on the couch in the Airbnb. So he's like quietly trying to like fold up because they had to be out by a certain time. And so he's like trying to like quietly fold up this like fold out stowaway couch thing. And I'm like sweating because I'm not good at interviewing or like not comfortable in my role yet. Yeah, I just
So I've never seen that interview. Did you
well,
ever?
no, because it was garbage. Like, I
Ah,
think because it was also the end of I mean, I have it, but it
yeah.
just like I made the video of the event, which I think you did. Like, that was so early. It's kind of embarrassing, but we can't be embarrassed of our growing. And so that video that I made of that Western conference compared to what I do now, I feel like is evidence of my growth. But like, I couldn't because it's like we're tired and it was just like,
You need to. I mean, what you do is wonderful, and we were talking about this before we started. Like that, I really love what you do, and
thanks.
and thank you for doing it. I don't know if I think I missed that. I wrote that in my notes. I meant to kind of thank you for all the stuff that you're doing, but maybe you need to dig that out and like the uncut, early raw footage of the sweaty interview with Tom Fox. That dude is a legend. Like,
I know. We'll talk about coincidence. So you went to school with him, right? You said
did
that?
went
Yeah.
to undergrad with Tom Fox,
So if you're going
and
to talk about a coincidence like that,
yeah,
like,
that my boys like just love Tom Fox to death. And the story, and I don't know, are we just like I don't know. I just feel like I'm rambling,
well, we'll get back to it. We'll get back to it. But
but Tom back in the day, he tells this story, and he told it to my boys, and they just with this story alone, he is a god to them. And Tom back in the day, like hung drywall, right?
that's
And so
hard.
he said, yeah, he said he was really fit and like whatever. And but after and this is in San Diego, and he after work would go and get a burrito, right?
Mhm.
And so he would go through the drive-through of this Mexican restaurant or whatever and order a burrito, and he gave the guy 20, and the guy gave him change like he'd gave him a 10. And Tom was like, hey, you shortchanged me or whatever. And so the guy gave him the right change. And then the next day, Tom went through the drive-through and ordered a burrito, and then the guy did the same thing, shortchanged him. And so as the guy's like handing him his burrito, Tom says that he grabs the guy by the behind the elbow
Oh.
and yanks him like into that little square aluminum window. He just keeps like ramming his face into that window, telling him like, "Don't ever shortchange me" or whatever. And my boys just like, and me too. Like I was just like, "Holy shit, Tom, really?" And he's like, "Yeah, that guy never shortchanged me again after that."
Sometimes you got to tell them you mean business. You're
Yeah,
not
I think sometimes violence, is the only way. I think Mother Teresa might have
said
said
that.
that. Yeah, I
Okay.
think.
Well,
But
that's our story. All right. Well, let's see. So, do we want to grab the thread back again? So, we talked a little bit about you interviewing for the Hayes, Kansas position. So I'm guessing you got it. Did you end
I
up?
did. I
Yeah.
felt great. I felt great about the interview, and then hung out with Dan, and yeah, they gave me the job. They made a big mistake, but yeah, and it's been wonderful. So I thought my life was over, moving out to the sticks and the weeds, and I'm like, nobody's gonna buy art out here. Like this, just like everybody wears Carhartts and shit. Like this, we're done. So me and my wife were like, well, we'll stay out here for a few years and then we'll go get a job somewhere else, whatever. But we just fell in love with this place and raised our boys here, and there's no crime, and the school has been like wonderful, like supporting all this crazy shit that I do, and the students are the best. Everybody says they have the best students, but they don't, like I do. And they're just these Western Kansas kids that like just work their fucking asses off. They work super hard. And, what we do is not easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's so many other ways to make sculpture that are a lot easier, but, blacksmithing and foundry um, is hard, and it's dumb. Like, sometimes it's just so hard, but these kids, like, my students that I've had over, I call them kids, but they're not really kids, but they've just, they've made it so easy. It's like the perfect storm out here, like I get support from the school.
Mm-hmm.
We love the little town. The students have been wonderful. Like, I've never paid for iron. Like people just out here, if they know you need something, they just bring it. You know what I mean? So like every week there's a sink or a tub, like just inside the gate of the sculpture yard. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow. Yeah.
so it's just been like, it's been wonderful out here. And then now, and when you were here, I think the last time you were here was for the conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only time you've been here.
Yeah.
I should come
Yeah.
again. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But um there's a whole new facility, and we have this giant furnace now. We could tap out, like, I don't even know, we don't even know the max.
Yeah. Is that the
1500
one from Carbondale?
Carbondale.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the guys built it. It was after I left, they wrote a grant, and Jason Kimes and Brad Allen, Tyler French, all those guys built that big giant furnace.
Yeah.
I flew out to help them run it one time, and that's it. They did a test pour, they ran it one time, and then it just sat there. So Todd Fromm, who was another sculptor out there, good friend, he called me one day. He says, I'm here at Carbondale and they're going to scrap this big furnace. He's like, if you want it. And so I called Jerry Monteith. I was like, Jerry, what's going on with that furnace? And he's like, oh, we're going to scrap it unless you come get it. So we came and got Jillian Thompson, one of my, well, she's a Springer now. She's married, but she stored it on her property for a couple months, or
Oh, wow.
for a couple months. But
Yeah.
and then I went and picked it up, and yeah, we've been running that thing. It's great.
Good. Good. When I heard that, I was like, that's exactly where it needs to go.
Oh yeah, it was perfect. It's a monster.
Yeah.
It's just a beast. And we have a bridge crane, and so we can
Mm-hmm.
handle it. And it's been great. It's you and Stacy were talking about that big furnace, for Matthew Barney, and that's
Yeah.
you don't have to break any iron. We don't.
Yeah.
We just chuck it in, like whole sinks. We just like
Nice.
chuck in a sink,
Yeah.
and it's kind of cool. So yeah, 4 days has been wonderful. It's been great, and support, and really the students, man. I've had just the greatest. I really have. It's that has really made it. For me.
And, I've interviewed a couple of your students, either current students or former students, but they say the same thing, about you. that
Yeah.
they really get probably as much from you as you appreciate them, was the sentiment that I got.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, they've been wonderful. I've had some great ones over the years, you
yeah.
know. Yeah, it's been cool.
And probably many more to come. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. We'll
Yeah.
see. Yeah. If yeah, who knows? Who
Mm-hmm.
knows?
More will be revealed. Let's see. So we talked, we pretty much got to, I guess, where you are today. Is there anything that you want to circle back to? I don't want to miss anything. Um, are there any
I could
good stories that you can think of off the top of your head?
I do have some. I did well, I want to know what you thought about because you were at the Western.
This past one in South Dakota.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know what you thought of that carnival.
Oh, it was great, man. I hadn't laughed that hard.
There was a lot of laughing, yeah.
It was the perfect kind of like palate cleanser, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think that's like the beauty of the community. Like, see, really in this community, you could do whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's gonna, it's almost like no one's gonna say no, no one's gonna censor you. You can kind of do whatever. And what I thought like from this drawing, I don't know if you can
Did
see
you
it
draw that before or after?
before. This was my
Okay.
idea for the carnival.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
pretty much
all of a sudden, like it was a thing.
was the
You know
thing.
what I mean? Like it became a thing.
It was
Like a lot of people had to make that happen. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And they did a good job.
yeah, Allison made those little. Did you see the little fists that went up and down, like for the Sloss
Oh,
toss? She
yes,
tried.
Allison made those. Okay. That makes
I
sense
mean,
now. I don't think I
it
knew at the
it
time who made them because it was
blew
so
blew
much
my
and they were
mind. Yeah, and then Noah dresses up as Biff.
yeah.
Lobdell dresses up as this clown,
I
and
know the clown was like that was maybe my favorite part
the scariest. But and then David Jones, like you know what I
in
mean,
the
has a wig
suit
on
with the
with a
wig.
Reed suit on. I'm like, what the? Like
Yeah.
everybody just brought it, you know. And I just like
Yeah.
that thing. Like I could it be? It could be one of the best things I think
Yeah.
I've ever done. Like it was just like what a great. And then to have like the fiery, crazy performance, like
Right. Yeah.
right after, like it was like, man, this is like killer, you know?
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
it's like right before everybody is making their molds, trying to zip up their final things, like doing painting the cracks in their shell that they've been like painstakingly working on like the whole conference. And, everything is so, okay, we got to break iron. We're stopping for lunch. Okay, we got to do this. And, it's a lot of work.
it's a lot of work.
And then the people that are in the performances workshop for the performance pour, like they were getting their stuff ready. Okay, it's performance pour time to move all of the stuff over. And so we're like loading it up into the trailer, like, oh, don't like, oh, be careful with that one. Oh, you don't have to be careful with that one because it's going to be a performance. So it's going to like, and like
Yeah.
all of this preparation and all of these different like wheels turning. And then at a certain point, it all like stops and we go to the carnival. And it's all the same people, but it's not iron related. It's not it's just lighthearted, fun. Like there's prizes. Who doesn't like prizes? There's like just
Right.
slightly athletic you know what I mean? Like there's like slightly athletic games, but not too like you can win a rubber duck tattoo. Like um people are dressed up. Where else are you gonna? And it's funny because I saw the bathtubs with the wheels on them, but I didn't know. Like I think probably in your trailer or in somebody's trailer, like
Those,
beforehand, I saw them, but I didn't know what it meant, until I see it like being driven around by Chris's whatever that little, is it a Suzuki or whatever? Like
Yeah, is it Suzuki or Mitsubishi? I don't know. Yeah, one of
something,
the,
and Noah's driving it with the like sorry, Biff Ladle Warmer is driving it with the like sideburns, and it's just like, is this like real life? And there's like balloons with like everybody's picture. Like it was just
I thought it was so
A
fun.
plus.
And Chris had picked that like park, like
Yeah.
it was like the perfect place for it. And yeah, it was cool. It was a lot of fun.
And it was like the palate cleanser before then we all went over and watched major awesome performances.
Oh, Laura,
And
I think you froze a little bit.
dang, can you hear me at all? No. Oh,
Yep,
wait.
there
Can
you
you?
go.
Okay, we're back. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not frozen. You're frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like it was a good break because everybody that had been stressed about their molds and like getting all that done, then it was like done, and then you laugh a little bit, and then you go to or a lot of bit. I mean,
Yeah, dude, I just saw so many people smiling. Like that was like for me, like, like just everybody's smiling and laughing at each other, and everybody's wearing those fucking Ludikings.
yes, yeah,
On my review mirror right now, there's a Ludiking and a Biff ladle warmer button.
button, nice.
And I'm like, is everybody like kind of rocking that now? Like
I
on
mean,
their
I've got mine. I'm gonna bring mine to Iron Tribe because
Kelly's gonna be there.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
and like
I
when
gotta
what
represent.
exactly when in Rome or when in Las Vegas, New Mexico, where your Luda
Have you
King
been to
go to.
Las Vegas before?
No, this is a bucket list trip for me.
Yeah, dude, it's
To-
such a great event. Like yeah, it's a cool town, and we just kind of take over the whole town. And uh uh Isaac's got his restaurant, Isaac
yeah,
Sandoval,
yeah,
his restaurant there, the Skillet,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, it's just so cool. Yeah, that'll be cool. It'll be great to see you there.
I'm like so excited. It's the week before my birthday too, so it's kind of like my birthday present to myself, and I think it'll be a good way to close out the 35, close it
Yeah,
out and go on.
nice,
And
nice. And
then and then
I don't know how, this could be the last Iron Tribe, so I'm so stoked about it. I'm so happy. Yeah,
yeah,
it's gonna be cool.
it's been a bucket list for a while. And then I heard at the Western, if you're gonna go, go now. And I
Yeah,
was like, okay, we're going.
yeah, and it's really what started the whole Western group was,
Yeah.
Lobdell having the Iron Tribe, and then it just turned into, this other thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool. Oh, cool. That's good. I'm glad you're going.
Definitely. I'm really excited. Did you just set up a show out there?
I did. Yeah, me and Luke Sides,
Oh, yeah. Mm,
big Texas boy. Yeah, I love that dude, and it was so cool for David to kind of like, you know,
yeah.
put us together. So a two-person show, um, and we set up the show like at the same time. So we both, went out, and we both brought our wives, and it was just great, like to hang out for a little while,
Yeah.
and get to know the sides, which is a
Yeah.
weird thing, but that's their last name.
Yeah.
Uh, to get to know them a bit and hang out with them, like that was really, really fun for me. And I hope it was fun for him. But
I'm sure it was. I mean, there's something because it's funny. There's like experiences that we have at these conferences and even like at smaller pours, but every once in a while there'll be like an iron caster coming through and they'll
yeah,
just like stop over and stay in our guest room, and just having that little bit of light from the iron community just stop in my living room, and you really get to know them in a way that you might not at the
because you're
conference.
not working, you're
Yeah.
not pouring iron, you're like
Yeah.
getting this to just talk. And yeah, I do. I love that. I really love that. I have, some former students coming next weekend. Madeline and Tang are coming. They're going to stay at the house, and so I love to have them. And Kelly's coming, I think, the week after that. Kelly
Uh-huh.
Ludick, he's on his way to Tempe, so he's a visiting artist at Mary Newbauer at ASU
Yeah.
at Mary Newbauer's place, and so he's going to stay the night and whatever. And then I think he's staying with Rian, and then he's staying with Matt Eaton. You know what I mean? So he's like, you know,
Coming, making the
you know,
circuit. Yeah.
yeah, it's cool. It's
It's
cool.
so cool.
Yeah,
I
it
love it.
is cool.
I love it so much. And like just to be able to go to all these different places, I would never go. I would probably never go
Yeah.
to a lot of these places and see a lot of these sites if it wasn't for going to these conferences.
Hayes America.
Yeah.
We would have never gone to Hayes
Mm-mm,
America.
mm-mm. No, and no offense, but it's like, but also like Birmingham.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I, driving through, you know,
Yeah.
so it's funny how it brings you around and you get to see a different side of these different places too. That's like more, I think it's not the big cities, it's more usually more industrial areas,
Mhm.
like, yeah. So I kind of want to talk about anything that so I am curious to know why you're continuing to use iron or why you use iron as an artistic part of your practice.
I had Tom Walsh like in a show one time, and he wrote this little artist statement that was like, it's a heavy metal and it lays up in the mold real nice. Um, and it is, and that's true. It's like bronze or whatever. It lays up in a mold nice. Um, but I like it because it takes any shape. Like it's the center of the earth and our blood and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
really, and it really is just because it brings the students together. It brings people together. Like that has become everything for me. Like, I have a piece that I poured like with Wayne at his number 45,
Yeah.
like iron pour. And I could have sold it, I think, 3 times, and I just can't let it go. Like the material is so precious because of where I poured it and all that stuff. Like I can't let it go. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like so for me, that's what it's about. It's just like, all these stories and all this stuff, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's because it brings people together, like is why I like it so much. It's not the best metal. Like
Yeah.
it's bronze is better and stainless steel is better as
Yeah.
far as for making stuff, but I almost always would rather pour iron.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you bond with people when you're, I know we just talked about how having an intimate kind of conversation with somebody when you're not working, you get to know them in a different way. But also when I pour with people that I'm just meeting, I can tell pretty much right away if I'm going to like get along with them because of the way that they are on the pour floor. I'm not saying that they're good or bad. It's just like I can tell, how we're going to mesh. Um but pouring with people that I know really well, like pouring with like Stacy and Jillian, it's like I remember there was one time we were in Memphis at a Repair Days event, and I just remember being in the back room making the shittiest mold of a planter, like a foot of a cast iron garden planter that I guess I don't know if the foot was missing, but they had the rest of the planter. And James was like, "Yeah, just like make the mold on the table. Just pile the resin sand on it and like no flasking boards, just like and just pat it in." And I made this mold and I feel like we put a face on it. Like we laughed so hard. I was like crying.
Those two girls, like they were there together as undergrad, And yeah, we had the most fun. Like, and
Dynamite.
Isaac was there at the same time, and Zane was an undergrad then too, and it was just a wild time. They were so much fun to have around, you know.
Yeah, dynamite. And so it was such a wonderful experience to see the metal museum boundary like really grow by attracting all of these different iron, like the really see the iron program grow. And that was kind of like a memory that I just will remember forever. Just like the three of us laughing so hard. We're like, you laugh so hard, you think you're going to throw up. Do you know what I mean?
There's been a few students like that, yeah, that have
And
had over
I
the
just am like, I never want to leave this place. I love these girls. Like, I love these girls so much. And then when it like comes to like leathering up and then we're on the pour floor and it's just like, you got that, I got this. We're all like, you go, I go. It's just such
yeah.
a gift. And
Jillian is a art teacher now, and
yeah.
coming in 2 weeks to Hayes. He's bringing 16 students to do some blacksmithing in my shop. Like, yeah, it's just cool. You know what I mean? Like, they were so young then. Like Jillian was an undergrad. Like, she was a single mom. Little Theo was like so young. Now he's like this man. Like, he's in high school now, and but it's just wonderful. Like, you just, like I said, like, you just, it is the group, it's the community, it's like, and teaching is like that too, whatever. But
So do you think now would be a good time for us to talk about what you've got hot on the horizon?
let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, there's so much stuff actually. Like, I had to write stuff down. Like,
Oh, well, you're
iron
on sabbatical right now.
I was on
Oh,
sabbatical,
okay. Okay.
and now I'm back to working, which was hard because I haven't worked since like May. So it was kind of hard to get back into it, but now back in, and we're 4 weeks into the semester, and uh, it's all good. But there's so much going on, like Iron Tribe's coming up. So we've been talking a little bit about that and how wonderful that's going to be. And we pour iron in a couple weeks on February 18th, hit in Hayes. And I bought a new studio. Like, me and Libby bought a little building in downtown Hayes, and so I'm kind of converting that into a little blacksmith shop. So that's been fun. And then Sloss is coming up, and that's going to be huge. And I'm so happy to be doing a lot of stuff for that. And then
Well, so let's even put in a little. So you're going to be the keynote speaker for this year's national conference,
I am.
2023.
Yeah. And like, I couldn't believe it. And yeah, so honored, like really honored to do that. Like, I don't even know. For a while there, I was so like uh overwhelmed. Like, yeah, it's been, yeah, fun to kind of dive into all that stuff and look back at your own career. Like, it's
Yeah.
been kind of fun to do that. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm so stoked, and I'm on a panel, and I'm going to be driving the bathtub train
Oh, yeah.
around as a performance.
Fantastic.
Just driving people around, like
Yeah.
someplace. I will drive you there. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then I'm going to Germany again
Okay.
this summer with Rian and Tamsi.
So what is that Germany trip?
I've been there for the last 2 years,
Okay.
and really it's Rian's thing. Rian has a brother that lives in Germany, and he was like, "Hey, I see that you're traveling all over the world to go pour iron. Like, how come you're not coming to visit me? Why don't you do some iron thing here in Germany. And so really it was just because a brother and sister like wanted to, like, they're friends and they want to see each other. And so there's iron there. There's a steel mill there. And so we're building a furnace and
Mm-hmm.
just trying to do like this big iron festival thing. And it's been wonderful. It's just been great. And I take students with me, and we built a furnace last year.
Yeah.
And this year we're going to test run it again and make molds and that kind of stuff. So it's been a blast. It's been a blast.
Yeah. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It sounds like really something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely looking forward to hearing you speak at Sloss. I mean, you're an amazing speaker. You know that. I hope you know that. You're
Thank you.
a
Yeah.
great storyteller. You've got good humor, and
I'm excited. I'm really nervous. And like I said, like just, there could be so many other people, that could do it, but yeah, it's going to be great. I am looking forward to it. Yeah. I, Julie Ward was like, "Hey, do you need a projector?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna need a projector, and I'm gonna need like a hot dog stand and a smoke machine, and I'm gonna need t-shirt cannons and like and all this stuff. Like I put like just all this dumb stuff.
yeah.
And then she just said, "Oh, okay." And I was like, so I don't know. I still don't know if she knows I'm kidding or not. Like I never really respond, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I could show up and there could be like a hot dog stand there ready for me. Like it could be cool.
Yeah. You
We'll
have
see.
those, you have your t-shirts ready for the cannon?
I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready.
We'll be in the audience, like over here.
Yeah, it
Because
could
your
be.
t-shirts are killer. Killer.
It'll be fun. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a blast. Yeah, a lot of my family's going, and like all kinds of people, like my sister and of course Libby and boys are going, and so it's gonna be great. Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be the first time in since 2019 was the last one
Yeah.
in person. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to mean a lot to many people. It's going to mean a lot to get to see our friends again.
The Western is my favorite. Just because it's more personal, but Sloss is the best in some ways, just because it means so much to so many people. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like it's like a staple in so many different people's, like they know what to expect. Because for me, it's like, I love the Western and I love the Sloss conference, but it's like apples and oranges. Like they're different
yeah,
things. And then
yes, they are.
I am close enough that I do like to go down to Carbondale and pour in Carbondale. And I love the Carbondale pours for
Yeah,
different reasons and for that intimacy. And then I'll go to Memphis and pour at the Metal Museum. And that's like a different, and so it's like
yeah,
you just got to go to as many as you can.
you do. Yeah, you do.
And,
Yeah, Sloss the space is so special, and the people that I've met there, and yeah, for me, it's incredible to think that going there with the dead deer in my trailer and all that stuff, and like not knowing anything, to like being the keynote speaker is really an incredible honor. And yeah, it's cool.
that's
So,
a really good point. And that's one of the reasons why I do these interviews, is because it's for people like me, or people, still in their college years, or people that are just getting into it. It's like that like kind of retrospective statement that you just made. It's like, I got to keep that in mind, because I'm still in my deer meat in the cooler trailer era. I'm still, that's my era right now. That's where I'm at.
Maybe that's the shirt. I'm still in my deer meat in the cooler era. Yeah, that could be the shirt. Who knows?
It's like when you realize that you don't know so much, I feel like is where I'm at. Yeah. But
Yeah, I'm still there too. Yeah, it's yeah.
it's
This
encouraging to hear that it doesn't really like this is kind of where you stay.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
But do you have any advice moving forward? I guess not moving forward, like moving
That was a
forward in the conversation. Like, do you have any advice?
that was a yeah. And as a teacher, you'd think I would have lots of advice. But what I was telling a student the other day was just take the money.
Mm-hmm.
So a graphic design student was going to do some video work for me, and I said, and I'll pay you for your work. And he's like, no, it's okay. And I was like, no. I said, take the money. So it was hard for me to learn that too, as a younger person or an artist. Like, people want to pay you for what you do, but and people would like they would hand you the money and be like, no, it's okay. But I told them what you need to do is they're like, hey, here's some, and just take the money and say, no, you don't have to do that, but have the money in your hand. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, what we do is worth something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it is. You've gone to school for it, you've trained for it. Like, take the money. People want to help you, want to support you, or buy something from you. Like, just take it. So that would be one thing. The other thing I thought about is leave the guard on your grinder. Like, don't take the guard off your grinder. I've seen it. I've seen some things, and it was all because you should have just left that guard on that grinder.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's my advice. Take the money and leave the guard on.
Yeah. Those are and I think that those are two really good points of advice. And I mean, everybody's their own free person, but it goes like both of those things can go pretty deep metaphorically and, into different
Yeah.
areas. And it's, everybody's going to do what they're going to do, but sometimes you got to learn the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know a few people that have learned the hard way for sure on
Mhm.
that grinder one. And it's like, man, ouch.
That's
Yeah.
good. Well, let's see. So um I have written down that you're going to follow up. You have a follow-up story for Stacy in the after show. Oh, wait, was there anything that did you want to talk about the Matthew Barney pour now, or do you want to do it in the after show? Because right now we're on our way over to the after show.
Yeah. I know.
But I
Yeah.
don't want to cut you off to anything that you might.
That's perfect. I think it's perfect. We could just there's been a lot of talk about it on your
But
podcast, but
really it was just the two, Really it was just Matt Wicker brought it up. And
yeah,
then
and it was cool to hear that from Matt, how he almost killed me. But
yeah.
and Stacy's I mean, Stacy was there,
Yes.
but she had all the wrong information. And like but
Well,
yeah,
should we just leave it at that and talk about it in the after show?
yeah, I have a good story. And the Stacy Rathert story that I'm going to tell is not uh well, we'll just see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you
we'll
want to
just see.
clear up any of the Matthew Barney stuff? Because it's also like we have to remember that Stacy, like if you were going to ask me about my first national conference at Sloss, like everything was 10
Oh yeah.
times bigger. The
Yeah,
the amount of
that's
people
just what
because
she
I was
remembers.
like I
Yeah,
was
and
that
it's
much
so
younger.
incredible, like, and that it's hard to remember,
Yeah.
like it was so mind-blowing that it is hard to remember,
And
but
it is over 10 years ago at this
yeah,
point. So
yes.
that's another
And
thing.
And I watched a video from the international conference
Yeah.
that kind of refreshed my
Yeah.
memory, which I don't think
Yeah.
Stacy watched. So,
Yeah.
in her defense.
Yeah, for sure.
But I still have a good story about Stacy Rather that she might be mad at me, afterwards, but that's okay.
Well, it's just in the after show, so it's like a little bit more private.
Yeah, it's
And
okay.
so I'm gonna ask you about the shit show
The
when
shit
we,
show.
when we go over into the after show.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
All right.
Sounds good.
So we'll say goodbye to the public audience. So for everybody that is listening or watching, thanks so much for tuning into this interview. We've enjoyed having you as a audience, I guess, for this episode. So we're going to go over to the after show. Hopefully we'll see you over there. But if not, Toby, thank you so much for being on this episode.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And I'm really looking forward to obviously talking to you in the after show, but also seeing you at Iron Tribe and at Sloss.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you later. Okay, bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I had just the greatest time being able to hear Toby's stories during his interview. He has such a fun personality and is a riveting storyteller, and his perspective on life helps teach us that you can really accomplish a lot if you appreciate the little you do have and just kind of let it happen. Toby, thank you so much for letting me interview you for this show. From the start of this project, I was always looking forward to this conversation with you, and I'm telling you now, you did not disappoint. I want you to know that so many of us look up to you for many different reasons, and you've changed our lives and helped so many of us grow and succeed, and there's still many more of us to come. So thank you for believing in us all and supporting us. And thank you to our top supporters for helping me afford the production costs of this show. Thank you, Sloss Metal Arts, for being a top supporter, and we're all looking forward to heading to Birmingham and visiting your site for the national conference this April 5th through the 8th. And folks, online registration is open, so go get your tickets. I already got mine. Get yours and let them know you're coming. Also, thank you to the Western Cast Iron Art Alliance for joining as a top supporter of the show. I am so honored and encouraged to have your support, and I'm excited to be able to help you get the word out about your events as they develop. Thank you for all the work that you do in service to the Western region of the U.S. and its cast iron artists. So yes, definitely thank you to Sloss Metal Arts and the Western Cast Iron Art Alliance for supporting this podcast, as well as all of our other individual supporters on Patreon. The funds that they contribute are invaluable to help me continue to produce these episodes. So in return for their support, I offer the after show recordings from each episode. And by now you probably already know it's an extra 15 to 20 minutes with each show's guest where we talk a little more candidly and share at least one more story behind the privacy of a paywall. So if you want to hear Toby's after show from today's interview, or also you want to get access to all of the earlier after shows from the previous episode's guests, you can do that for as little as $1 a month. Go to our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/thepodcastiron. And there you can choose a contribution level that fits within your budget. But supporters at any level get access to the after shows from each episode. But if you don't have it in your budget to support the Podcast Iron on Patreon, that's okay. Instead, please share this podcast with someone you think will be interested in listening or watching, and I'll appreciate that just as much. Anything and everything helps, and for that I say thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you want to get in touch with me, please email me at thepodcastiron@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening and watching. I'm sending you all my love always, and I can't wait to share the next episode with you. I'll talk to you soon, and have a great day.